I was playing a game on my phone when the calls for help started. My mother-in-law had been bitten by a venomous snake out in the countryside and needed antivenom to survive. I ignored them. In my last life, my wife said her mother missed us, so I took our daughter and drove up to visit. The next day, my wife ran off with her high school sweetheart to a hot springs in the mountains. That same night, my mother-in-law was bitten by a copperhead, her life hanging by a thread. The nearest county clinic didn't have the right antivenom, and the drive to the city hospital was at least 3 hours. As a YouTuber who makes videos about herpetology, I happened to have a vial in my car, but my wife had taken the car. I called her a dozen times, begging her to come back. Annoyed, she finally returned. My mother-in-law was saved, but her sweetheart, left behind sitting in a hot tub for too long, died of a heart attack. My wife fell apart and slapped me across the face again and again. "You did this on purpose, didn't you? You were jealous that I was with Dylan, so you had to call me back and let him die." "Is that it?" my wife screamed. My mother-in-law chimed in. "Don't make a big deal out of nothing." "I'm fine, aren't I? You think the ambulance couldn't have saved me?" Our own daughter pointed a finger in my face and shouted, "You just can't stand to see Uncle Dylan happy. It's all your fault Sophie couldn't be with him. You don't deserve to be my dad." Consumed by their rage, they forced pesticide down my throat. I died with my eyes wide open. When I opened them again, I saw my mother-in-law collapsing to the ground, and I quietly dialed 911. "Alex, get out here quick. Your mother-in-law's been bit by a snake. It's bad," I heard. Outside, our next-door neighbor Carol and a few others were struggling to carry my mother-in-law back toward the house. Her face was pale as a sheet. The shouting snapped me back to reality. I looked down at the game on my phone, only halfway finished, and realized I was back. I'd been reborn. "Alex, where are you?" "Your mother-in-law's in trouble." "Are you just going to sit there?" Carol demanded when no one answered. My phone, idle for too long, chimed with a crisp defeat. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You're seriously sitting here playing on your phone, Alex? Have you lost your mind?" I hesitated for a few seconds, then set the phone down and stood up, feigning nonchalance. "Carol, I'm not a doctor."
What am I supposed to do?
Besides, even if I did everything I could, it wouldn't end well for me. In my last life, I moved heaven and earth, begging my wife Jessica to come back and save her mother. All I got for my trouble was a torrent of abuse and a beating. If that's how it's going to be, why should I break my back a second time? The others had already managed to lay my mother-in-law on the daybed in the living room under dim light. Her lips were tinged a bluish purple. The moment she saw me, her weak moans turned into a full-throated accusation. "I'm about to die and you're just sitting there, calm as you please, playing on your phone. How did my daughter marry such a heartless piece of trash? Aren't you some kind of snake expert on YouTube or something? Do something." Save me. She was right. I'd been fascinated by snakes my whole life, and I recognized the bite instantly. A copperhead. The bite is often painless at first, maybe a little dizziness. But without antivenom within 3 hours, not even a miracle could save her. The only reason she still had the energy to yell was that the venom hadn't fully taken hold. Carol grabbed my arm with a sturdy hand. Alex knows how to treat this. Under her expectant gaze, I forced an uneasy look and said quietly, "Mom, I did have a kit with snake antivenom in the car when I drove up, but Jess took the car yesterday." Carol's anger flared. She looked like she wanted to slap me on her friend's behalf. "Well, call her and tell her to get back here. Why are you men always so damn slow? Hurry up!" She shoved my phone back into my hands. I dialed Jessica's number. As expected, she didn't answer. I dialed again and again. The faces in the room grew grimmer by the second. Finally, on the 29th call, she picked up. I practically shouted, "Jess, you need to come back right now." "Mom?" A stranger's voice cut in. "Who is this?" the man asked, his tone faintly smug. I paused. "I'm her husband, Alex." "Oh, I'm a friend of hers." "Jess is in the shower right now. Can't come to the phone. I'll have her call you back when she's out." Then he hung up. Carol's eyes darted around. It clicked. She knew that voice. The young fellow from the next town over who works at the radio station and moved back before Christmas. The other neighbors caught on too. Why would he be answering Jessica's phone? "You don't think—" someone murmured. Nobody said it outright, but the implication hung in the air. Suddenly, everyone but my mother-in-law looked at me with a new pitying expression. My mother-in-law's brow furrowed, her face dark and frightening. She grabbed a teacup from the side table and hurled it at me. You can't even make a simple phone call, right? I swear you're trying to kill me, you old fool. The cup missed my head by inches and shattered on the floor. I clutched my forehead, letting out a pain groan. The sight of my blood-covered hands drained Carol's face of color. She rushed to help me up. Oh, Alex, are you okay? Eleanor, what has gotten into you? What did your son-in-law do to deserve that? It's not his fault his wife took the car, another neighbor said, shooting my mother-in-law a disapproving look. He just made a phone call and you fly off the handle like this. Or did you already know your daughter was off with another man? My mother-in-law's chest heaved, but she couldn't muster a defense. As far as I knew, the local clinic didn't stock copperhead antivenom. The closest city hospital was at least a 3-hour ambulance ride. I glanced at the 911 call logged on my phone and lowered my head to hide my cold expression. Old woman, I thought. Whether you live or die isn't up to your daughter. It's up to fate. In my past life, I knew Eleanor never liked me, her painfully average son-in-law. I'd always bought her gifts and supplements for every holiday, but I could never earn a kind word. Looking back now, a forced relationship is better off broken. I remembered Jessica telling me the day before we left that she was going to see some friends back home and that I shouldn't bother her unless it was an emergency. Now I saw she'd planned this all along. Suddenly, a small figure darted in from outside and kicked my shin. The pain sent me crumpling to the floor. My 6-year-old daughter Sophie wasn't finished. She kicked me several more times. "Don't you say bad things about Uncle Dylan?" she shouted. I clutched my leg, staring blankly. "She's so mean, Daddy. Uncle Dylan and Mommy are just friends. Why are you making things up?" Sophie stood with her hands on her hips, indignant. "Grandma, you know Uncle Dylan is a good person. Last week for my birthday, he bought me the toy I wanted most and took me and Mommy to the amusement park. Is it wrong for him and Mommy to be good friends?" "Daddy!" The neighbors were utterly speechless. This was blatant, my wife out with another man and taking our daughter along. Sophie wouldn't let anyone talk badly about him. She defended Uncle Dylan fiercely, convinced he was the best man in the world and that their friendship was something a selfish person like me could never understand. Seeing everyone's disbelief, Sophie stomped her little foot in frustration. "I'll call Mommy right now and have her clear this up." This time the call connected almost immediately. So quickly it seemed like whoever was on the other end might have answered by accident. "Hi, Mommy," but Sophie's cheerful tone died in her throat when a strange sound came through the speaker. "Dylan, no. Don't." The woman's soft whisper made the entire room fall silent. "Don't what? Here or there? Come on, baby. Don't say that. You know you want it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made up that excuse about your mom missing her granddaughter just to come see me, right?" Jessica's voice, usually calm and distant, now sounded sweet and syrupy in a way I'd never heard before. "As long as you appreciate the effort I went through," she said softly. "When you got into that trouble, it took everything I had to get you transferred out here near my mom. It was all for this," the man chuckled quietly. "Say no more. I know what's on your mind now. Let me make it up to you." At some point, the call cut off on its own. Sophie didn't understand the strange noises she'd heard, but everyone else in the room did. Carol's eyes widened so much it looked like they might pop out of her head. "Wait a second. Sophie, your mom and that Dylan are friends? Even the best of friends don't act like that. Do you want him to be your new dad?" Sophie froze for a moment, then nodded eagerly. "Yes! I think he's way better than Daddy. He'd be a much better dad. I hate doing my homework, and I hate eating vegetables, but Daddy always makes me do things I don't like. But Uncle Dylan is different. He only lets me do fun things, and he always buys me candy before dinner." Her childish, cheerful voice stood in sharp contrast to the pity-filled expressions on the adults' faces, everyone except Eleanor. In that moment, they finally believed it. That I was a pathetic man who had been betrayed long ago. Eleanor, who'd always carried some weight in our small town and had never been humiliated in public before, looked furious and so angry that she seemed to see stars. "Not a word of this gets out, you hear me? All of you, keep your mouths shut. Jessica is just a little close with her friend, so what? The only one to blame here is you, Alex. You're not man enough to keep your own wife in line." As her voice rose, her eyes suddenly rolled back, and she collapsed. The venom was finally taking effect. Her fall sent everyone into a panic, but no one knew what to do. Then Carol slapped her thigh and gritted her teeth. I'm sending my son to find Jessica. That should be okay, right? If we don't get that antivenom soon, you're not going to be alive to argue with us anyway. A minute later, Carol's son was already in his car, speeding toward the mountains to find Jessica, but after an entire hour, he returned empty-handed. He held up his hands helplessly. Mom, Jessica wouldn't even see me. She said, I was on it with Alex. What were we supposed to do? It turned out that when Carol's son arrived at the Hot Springs Resort and tried to explain that Eleanor had been bitten by a snake, Jessica flew into a rage. That bastard Alex sent you here to bother me, didn't he? She'd yelled. My mom got bit by a snake. My ass! She'd cut him off. Get lost. I already told him I'm not coming back tonight. You're ruining my mood. He was kicked out before he could even finish explaining. As he left, he noticed the floor outside the hotel room door was littered with condom wrappers. Sophie pouted, pointing a small finger at me. It must be because Daddy was saying bad things about Uncle Dylan, and Mommy heard him. Daddy did something wrong, so Mommy got mad. Daddy has to say sorry to Mommy and Uncle Dylan. Mommy and Uncle Dylan didn't do anything wrong. Hearing that, Carol couldn't stay silent any longer. What is wrong with you, child? Don't you get it? Your mother is cheating. She's sleeping with another man. That Dylan is a shameless homewrecker. Sophie burst into tears. Suddenly, Eleanor clutched her chest, her eyes flying open as a spray of blood erupted from her mouth. Drops splattered across one side of Sophie's face, leaving her standing there frozen in shock. Eleanor coughed up several more mouthfuls of blood before her eyes rolled back and she passed out completely. Everyone panicked, but she was already unconscious. Just then, the wailing sound of an ambulance siren cut through the chaos. Paramedics rushed inside, their faces tight with urgency. What kind of snake was it? One of them asked. The neighbors looked at one another speechless, gesturing for the medics to just do something. Anything. I cleared my throat softly and said in a low voice, A copperhead. The lead paramedic's brow furrowed. Damn it, we didn't bring that antivenom. It's a 3-hour round trip back to the hospital. We don't have that kind of time. I lowered my head, hiding my expression. Copperhead antivenom wasn't something they usually carried. I hadn't specified when I called 911. I was gambling with Eleanor's life, and clearly I'd won. Just then, Eleanor coughed up more blood. Her entire face was turning a dark purple from the poison. Carol slapped her thigh again, shouting to the paramedics, Her daughter has it! In her car, that venom stuff. While one medic tried to stop the bleeding, he yelled to the group, Then call her and get her over here now. Carol grabbed Eleanor's phone, found Jessica's number, and dialed. The paramedic switched the call to speaker. Ma'am, he said urgently, your mother has been bitten by a snake and is in critical need of copperhead antivenom. The hospital is too far. We need you to return immediately with the antivenom from your car. The line stayed silent for a few seconds. Then Jessica let out a cold, contemptuous laugh. Alex, you've really outdone yourself this time, getting strangers to help you trick me into coming back. Not a chance. I'm warning you, if you mention my mom being bitten by a snake one more time, I'll make you pay. The paramedic blinked in disbelief, stunned by her tone. Miss Miller, I urge you to return at once. Otherwise, we won't be able to save your mother's life. To his shock, Jessica only laughed harder. Wow, you're really committed to this act, even throwing in fake threats now. Fine, I'll tell you what, if she can't be saved, then she can't be saved. There's absolutely no way I'm coming back. She hung up, leaving nothing but the dull buzz of the dial tone. The paramedic's face turned red with anger, but before he could redial, Carol screamed, She's not breathing! She's not breathing! The team rushed to perform CPR, but once the venom takes hold, there's no turning back. 3 minutes later, the paramedic pronounced Eleanor dead. The news hit everyone like a ton of bricks, except me. I lowered my head, pretending to wipe away a non-existent tear. Perhaps this was just her fate, I murmured. Then I fell to my knees, wailing, Mom, it's my fault. I couldn't save you. I'm so sorry. I'll be a better son to you in the next life. I slammed my forehead against the floor over and over until it was bruised and bloody. My show of grief made Carol's heart ache. Alex, please, get up, she said softly. This isn't your fault at all. It's Jessica. Her own mother was dying, and she acted like she was possessed, just refusing to come home. That's right, another neighbor muttered. too busy messing around with another man to save her own mom. Is she even human? I paused for a moment, then cried even harder. Everyone gathered around to console me. The poor, betrayed husband forced to endure yet another tragedy. And Jessica, in everyone's eyes now, was the evil woman who let her own mother die. The weather was unbearably hot, and the next day, I began preparing for the funeral. I handled everything, big and small. I didn't eat or drink. I nearly collapsed several times from exhaustion. Sophie, after getting sprayed with blood, had fainted and developed a high fever, so Carol took her home to look after her. The neighbors all pitched in to help, whispering disbelief and scorn for Jessica, the daughter who wouldn't even come home for her mother's funeral. On the day of the memorial service, I sat quietly beside the casket. Carol arrived with the urn containing Eleanor's ashes. Seeing me still kneeling there, she sighed. "Take care of yourself, Alex. You're going to make yourself sick carrying on like this." I managed a weak smile. "You should go home and get some rest, Carol." She hesitated but finally nodded, placing the urn on a chair near the doorway before leaving. Not long after she was gone, the yard gate creaked open. Jessica walked in, leaning on Dylan Reed's arm. The moment her eyes fell on me, kneeling before the casket, she exploded. "Alex, what the hell is this? Are you turning my mother's house into a funeral home? Are you trying to curse my mom to death?" Carol, who had just turned back, lost her temper. She pointed right at Jessica and shouted, "Your mother is dead and now you decide to show up? Jessica, have you no shame at all?" Jessica froze, stunned. It took her a long moment to process the words. "What do you mean my mom's dead? What the hell are you talking about?" Dylan, looking polished with his glasses and smug smile, chuckled. "Wow, Alex, you're really going all in, huh? Setting up a whole wake in the house. Isn't this a little much?" Jessica's glare shifted to me, her eyes blazing. "That's enough, Alex!"
Stop with this pathetic act!
She kicked out at the doorway, sending the urn crashing to the floor. "What is this? A fake urn, too? You've got some nerve!" As if venting all her fury, she picked up the broken container and slammed it down again. The ashes spilled everywhere. A gust of wind blew through the doorway, scattering half of them across the yard. The sight left Carol, and half the town gathered there, completely aghast. How could you, Jessica? Those were your mother's ashes. It's only been a week since she died, and you're already bringing another man into her home. Do you have no conscience?" Jessica laughed in disbelief. "A week? Carol, are you trying to pick a fight with my mom? I get it. She always had one up on you. I guess this is the only way you can get back at her, by lying to me." With that, she grabbed Dylan's hand and marched toward the house, still yelling, "Mom, I'm hungry! Get dinner started!" But there was no reply. Jessica frowned, her voice turning impatient. "Mom, where are you? I texted you that Dylan was coming for dinner. Did you make the pot roast?" As she stepped into the living room, her eyes landed on the memorial portrait hanging on the wall, her mother's picture, surrounded by white flowers and incense smoke. Her words died in her throat, then came a piercing scream that shook the whole house. Jessica's eyes blazed with fury. "Alex, what the hell did you do with my mother? And what is this disgusting picture doing here? If you want a divorce, just say so." She stormed over, yanked the portrait from the wall, and hurled it to the ground. The frame hit the floor with a sharp crack, glass shattering everywhere. Dylan rushed forward and grabbed her by the arm, his expression tense. "Alex, you've gone too far. I know you don't like me, but what Jessica and I have isn't as sordid as you think. Even though she's married, we have a right to see each other as friends. But to drag her mother into your little drama, isn't that crossing the line?" Carol had followed them inside. The moment she saw the broken portrait, her face twisted in outrage. "You crazy girl. Have you lost your mind? I paid for that portrait of your mother. While your mom was dying, begging for that antivenom. Where were you? You were holed up in some resort with another man. How can you even live with yourself?" The noise drew the neighbors, who crowded around, their voices rising in judgment. "Alex is such a decent man," one said. "Your mom screamed at him, and he didn't say a word back. He begged you to come home again and again. And you? What were you doing?" Each word hit Jessica like a slap, leaving her frozen. She remembered how, during her previous visits, the neighbors had always adored her, always complimented her looks, her manners, her charm. She'd never been treated like this before. Her expression flickered with doubt as she turned to me. "Alec, is my mom really dead?" I let a single tear slip down my cheek. She was bitten by a copperhead. I had the antivenom ready, but you took the car 2 days ago and never came back. I tried to call you. She sucked in a sharp breath, her face pale. No, that's impossible. My mom couldn't have such bad luck. You're all lying to me. Carol had lost all patience. She stood with her hands on her hips, voice dripping with scorn. Lying to you? What do we gain from lying to you? The paramedic called you, and you didn't believe him either. What do you need? To see a body before you finally believe it? Jessica's eyes widened, her breath catching. A paramedic? So that really was a paramedic. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. A man wearing a county coroner's uniform stepped inside, holding a folder. Is this the residence of Jessica Miller? I have her mother's death certificate. For 3 long seconds, silence filled the room. Then Jessica's trembling hands reached out and took the paper. The moment her eyes landed on her mother's name, the color drained completely from her face. Mom, she choked out, collapsing to the floor. Dylan looked startled. He grabbed the certificate from her shaking hand and scanned the page, his brow furrowing. You didn't pay someone to forge this, did you? The coroner, who had been turning to leave, stopped dead and turned back, his face dark with anger. Are you kidding me? Do you even know the reputation of the county medical examiner's office? Forge a document? What kind of garbage are you saying? Confronted, Dylan's expression hardened. It was just a question. Why are you getting so defensive? See, Jessica, now I can't even speak. But Jessica wasn't listening. She was lost in her grief, sobbing uncontrollably. Dylan sighed and forced his face into a look of sympathy. He knelt beside her, his tone soft. Jess, don't be too sad. You weren't home when your mom was bitten. It's not entirely your fault. Besides, who's ever heard of venomous snakes around here? Maybe someone with a grudge did this on purpose. As he spoke, his eyes flicked toward me. Jessica's sobs suddenly stopped. She turned on me, her eyes filled with hatred. It was you, Alex, wasn't it? You took my mom to that place, let her get bitten, and then you let her die on purpose. It has to be you. You call yourself a snake expert. It would be easy for you to hurt her. Before I could say a word, the neighbors erupted. Jessica, shame on you. Alex has been running himself ragged since it happened, and this is what you say? Yeah. Has this pretty boy got you under a spell or something? Amid the shouting, Sophie stumbled into the room. Her lips were pale, her eyes vacant and unfocused. The moment she saw Jessica, tears welled up and she rushed forward, throwing herself into her mother's arms. Mommy, I'm scared. Grandma threw up so much blood and it got all over my face. They said Grandma's not going to wake up. Is it true? The impact of the hug made Jessica stumble backward. She gripped her daughter's shoulders, her voice trembling and sharp. Was Grandma alone when she was bitten? Did your dad take her out there? Sophie froze, terrified by her mother's tone. Then she shook her head slowly. No. Grandma said she wanted to make you a rhubarb pie, so she went to pick by herself. It had nothing to do with Daddy. Jessica's hands dropped to her sides, trembling. Tears streamed down her face. No, Mom, I killed you. It's my fault. The house filled with the sound of her sobs, raw and broken. Dylan, silent until now, crouched down beside Sophie, putting on a gentle smile. Mommy's just really sad right now. How about Uncle Dylan takes you to get some ice cream, huh? You love sweets, don't you? But instead of running to him like she always did, Sophie took a timid step back. Dylan blinked, surprised. Doesn't Sophie like Uncle Dylan anymore? I'm Mommy's best friend. Sophie blinked up at him, voice small and trembling. Uncle Dylan. Were you and Mommy making a baby at the hot springs? I heard you. Dylan froze completely, his face turning blank. Sophie, what nonsense are you saying? But Sophie pressed on, voice rising. Carol told me. She said if Mommy and Uncle Dylan do those things, Mommy will have another baby, and then Mommy won't want me anymore, right? Jessica's face turned crimson, then purple. She glared at her daughter. You say one more word and I'll smack you. That was the breaking point. Sophie's face crumpled and she began to wail. Mommy doesn't want me anymore. How could you, Mommy? I hate you, Uncle Dylan. You're not allowed to have a baby with Mommy. A child's love and hate can turn in a heartbeat. I stepped forward, scooping Sophie into my arms, my expression heavy with pain. The child is innocent in all this, I said quietly. Since things have come to this, let's just get a divorce. The word divorce made Jessica's head snap up, her eyes wide. What did you just say, Alex? You want a divorce? No, I won't allow it. Carol shoved her shoulder roughly. You won't allow it? We all heard those disgusting noises you and this boy were making at that resort. That's all the proof anyone needs. You don't want a divorce. You just want to keep ruining Alex's life. Well, when this story gets out, you'll have no choice but to get divorced, legally and morally. She turned to me, her tone softening. Alex, you're a good man. I'm glad you finally decided to move on. It's for the best, the neighbors murmured their agreement. That's right, Alex. As a son-in-law, you've done more than enough. A divorce is the best thing for you right now. We'll all be your witnesses. I took a deep breath and bowed to them. Thank you, everyone. Jessica stood frozen, her face thunderous. Alex, are you serious? I met her gaze steadily. Jess, you said your mother missed Sophie. I took vacation time so we could come back together. And what happened? The first night you ran off to see a friend, when really you were just shacking up with him. Your mother was bitten by a snake. Did I not call you immediately? And how did you respond? I'm devastated by her death, but I'm not at fault for any of it. And I'm done putting up with this. Sign the papers. There's nothing left to say. With that, I carried the sleeping Sophie out of the house, got into my car, and drove away. An hour later, we were home. Sophie woke up not long after, rubbing her eyes. She saw me packing my things and walked over on bare feet, her voice soft. Daddy, are you leaving? What about Mommy? I forced a weak smile. Mommy still has you, doesn't she? And if that's not enough, she has Uncle Dylan. Didn't you say you'd rather have him as your dad? In my previous life, Jessica would often take Sophie out alone on weekends, saying they were going to have fun. But in reality, she was meeting Dylan. After all that time together, Sophie's opinion of me, her real father, soured. I told you I wanted a Coke. Uncle Dylan always gets me one. Why won't you? You're no fun. Daddy never plays with me. You just make mean faces and tell me what to do. I had only wanted to care for her, but my concern had become the reason she resented me. Hearing my words now, Sophie froze. Daddy, don't go. Her small figure looked so helpless. For a moment, my heart softened. Then I remembered my last moments from my previous life, when Jessica forced pesticide down my throat. Sophie had held me down so I couldn't move. She was so small, I could have easily pushed her away. But all I thought about was, what if I hurt her? She always cried so easily, her eyelids puffing up afterward. But as I closed my eyes for the last time, I saw it. The same cold satisfaction and excitement in both her and Jessica's faces. The agony in my heart turned to numbness. If she doesn't want me, then I won't be her father. The babysitter will be here soon to stay with you, I said softly. I have to go now. I zipped up my bag and turned toward the door, but before I could leave, Sophie ran after me, clutching my leg and crying. No, Daddy, don't go! For a brief second, I hesitated. I almost thought about taking her with me, but then I looked down and saw the bracelet on her wrist. A cheap plastic band with a Princess Elsa charm. A gift from Dylan. The crystal bracelet I'd given her for her 5th birthday was gone. She must not have liked it. I guess she threw it away. I paused for a moment, then gently pushed Sophie's hand aside. You'll always be my daughter, I said quietly. But Daddy has to leave. That night, Jessica nearly blew up my phone. Call after call came in, one right after another. I didn't answer a single one. When I didn't pick up, she switched to text messages, her words flooding the screen in a desperate rush. Alex, what the hell is this? Did I say you could get a divorce? Get your ass back here now. Are you serious? You're just going to leave Sophia home by herself? Are you even human? Yes, okay. Something happened between me and Dylan that shouldn't have, but it's not as sordid as you think. You can't just throw around the word divorce. What do you take me for? Answer me. Honey, where are you? I watched the messages pop up one after another. Then I simply blocked her number. The exhaustion, both physical and emotional, hit me all at once. I lay down on the hotel bed and was asleep within minutes. My lawyer was efficient. The next day, he had the divorce papers delivered straight to me. When I looked over the property division, it was more than fair, more than satisfactory even. I took a sip of my coffee, then slid the documents across the table to Jessica, who I'd asked to meet. Sign it, I said flatly. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts. Whether it was from crying over her mother's death or something else entirely, I couldn't tell. When she read through the papers, her pupils contracted. Her first reaction was immediate rejection. No, I won't sign, she said. Then her tone softened, turning into a plea. I can't get a divorce, Alex. The whole town knows. Someone even posted about it online. I can't live with the humiliation. Alex, I'm begging you. I raised an eyebrow. So the story had spread that far already. Of course, it's only when her own interests are on the line that Jessica suddenly learns how to be nice to me. Under her hopeful gaze, I smiled. You don't really have the right to say no anymore, Jessica. If you don't want every sordid detail of your affair with Dylan being dissected by strangers on the internet, you'd better just sign. She stared at me, her expression flickering from disbelief to fury. Fine, she spat. It's not like I can't live without you, but she had completely underestimated just how vicious and relentless the internet could be. Someone, using a video a neighbor had secretly filmed, managed to identify Dylan Reed. From there, it didn't take long for online sleuths to dig up everything. His tax evasion at his old accounting job, the illegal side deals he'd made with other companies. It was all sensitive information to begin with. Once it surfaced, he was torn apart online. The attacks were so brutal that he didn't dare leave his house. A week later, the lawyers arranged another meeting. Jessica showed up, but she was barely recognizable. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face drawn and tired. Her usually perfect hair hung in messy strands around her face. I guess that's what happens when I'm not there to take care of her. Alex, she said hoarsely, I really know I was wrong. Please don't leave me. I really can't live without you. Sophie's been acting out every day. I don't know what to do. I looked at her calmly. This is the last time I'm asking you to sign. If you refuse, we'll go to court. And I can't promise how much embarrassing evidence will come out then. She froze, her lips trembling, and then suddenly screamed, her voice breaking into hysteria. Do you really have to push me this far? Yes, I thought. Just like you pushed me to my death in our last life, but back then I never got an answer either. The door to the coffee shop burst open and a tall figure stormed toward our table. Jessica. It was you, wasn't it? Dylan didn't look like himself. His eyes were bloodshot with dark circles beneath them. His voice was filled with barely restrained rage. Jessica, startled, jumped to her feet. What are you talking about? Are you crazy, Dylan? Am I crazy? He shot back, seething. You were the only one who knew about that stuff from my old firm. I told you those details in confidence. Who else could it have been? You're the one who came on to me, who climbed into my bed, and now I'm the one getting destroyed online for it? He was shouting now, spit flying from his mouth. Jessica's face flushed a deep, furious red. She jabbed a finger at him and screamed right back, pushing the blame toward me. Dylan, you should remember, if it weren't for me, you'd be in jail making license plates right now. And as for climbing into your bed, you sure seemed to be enjoying it at the time. You know what? You deserve everything you're getting online. Dylan's lips pressed into a thin, bloodless line. His eyes glinted like knives. You think I deserve this? Jessica lifted her chin, defiant. Yeah, I do. You deserve every bit of it. Her words cut off abruptly. She looked down at her chest, eyes wide. In a blind rage, Dylan had grabbed the fork from the table and stabbed her. A second later, blood gushed from the wound. Hey, he's killing her, someone screamed. The cafe erupted into chaos. Other customers shrieked and scrambled for the exits while the manager grabbed the phone and called the police. By the time the ambulance arrived, Jessica was lying in a pool of her own blood, her breathing shallow, more air leaving than coming in. Alex, she rasped weakly, her unfocused eyes finding mine. I was wrong. Her lips were pale, trembling. I just looked back at her, saying nothing. This was her fate. Her curse. Dylan was convicted of murder and sentenced to life without parole. Jessica died in the hospital that night from her injuries. Their story blew up again, trending online for weeks. In this version, I was the undisputed victim, the poor, innocent husband. A few brands even reached out, wanting me to do live streams and tell my side of the story. I turned every offer down. I wanted nothing more to do with any of it. Sophie was sent to live with one of Jessica's distant relatives. We never spoke again. I moved to a new city and started over. I didn't have to guess to know. This time, the rest of my life would finally be peaceful. The end.